Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So here we go, we're going to have a look at my top 10 affordable cold weather fragrances for men for 2020. Before we do that, yes, I have seen that George the Fragrance Apprentice has made a new video, very artistic, and I know I've got to keep up. We've got to keep our channel modern and relevant. It's got to be cutting edge, just like George's channel. So I've got a new intro sequence and intro tune for the channel. It's been recorded by my good friend Pavel. There was a slight mix-up, and they actually recorded it in Czech. But don't worry, we've included subtitles. So here you go. Hope you enjoy it, guys. Okay, hello, welcome back everybody. So we're going to look at my top 10, or it might be more like about 12, affordable, inexpensive fragrances for autumn and winter cold weather type fragrances. This is really a pretty easy list to do. There's a real plethora of good fragrances out there that work well, that are sort of spicy and sweet and have tobacco or oud and things in them that don't cost a lot of money. So it's pretty easy. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel to make this video. It's kind of like kind of like that. Before we get into that, just a quick mention and a thank you to all the great reviewers out there who've been reviewing Gravitas Pour On. We did send out a few free bottles. Some of the reviewers have actually also bought them too. Amazing, the small hype train starting there on this fragrance, and it's by my brand Naughton & Wilson. Link in the description. Not quite suitable for this list because it's £90 for 100ml. I think that is incredibly good value, and it would be a great spicy fougere fragrance for the colder seasons. Okay, let's get into the affordable fragrances then that we're going to put in this list. First up then, I'm going to go with a real classic. It's the legendary butt plug. It's Rocha Man. Okay, Rocha Man is it Rochas Man? A fantastic fragrance, first released I think in around about 1999. Was it Maurice Roussel? I believe so. This one has a fantastic combination of a sort of coffee note with a slightly fruity raspberry note and a sort of air of laundry freshness about it as well. Very, very comforting. Very, very nice for a sort of sweater on a cold autumn day. Very cuddly kind of scent. Fantastic price on this one of just about now £30 I found it for in the UK. I think you used to be able to get even cheaper. That was for 100ml on one of the online retailers. Really, really nice, comforting, cosy fragrance, semi-gourmandish, and a real beautiful classic that a lot of people still rave about. Next up then, we're going to go for more of a gentlemanly old school style fragrance, and that is the much vaunted, much talked about, but not so much in recent years. Jaiperon from the House of Boucheron. You can find this one online. Here in the UK, I found one for £23 for a 100ml bottle. Stunning presentation from Boucheron here. And this is sort of an oriental fougere, I would call it. It basically mixes a little bit of a barbershop-esque vibe with a lovely vanilla and some spices, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. So I've always said a little bit like if you took Brut by Fabergé and chucked in some spices and vanilla, you get something like this. It's got powderiness, it's got a little bit of lemon and citrus in the opening, definitely a slight barbershop feel, but with a hint of the oriental as the befitting the name Jaipur. Great performance on the eau de toilette. There's a slightly more pricey eau de parfum, but I mean this is right there near the top of the list for me for great choices. Good for the cold weather because the barbershop thing, you know, could be more of a spring type of smell, whatever. But with this powderiness and the sweetness and the spices in there, just works brilliantly on an autumnal day or even on a cold winter's day. Very gentlemanly at the same time. Love that one. Don't forget, if you'd like to join the Smelly Army Private Members Club over on Patreon, there's a link in the description to do that. It costs just $2 a month and you get an extra video from me every week, plus you get to watch everything I've already uploaded in there. We're building a really nice community, lots of interaction, and I'd love to see you in there. Next up, it's a real classic of the Mr. Smelly channel. I think it was thanks to Lex Ellis I first discovered this one years back. Bogart Pour Homme. I've got several backup bottles of this now. You can get it for under £20 in the UK. Superb 2004 release. It's Maurice Roussel again, and this one, some people have described it as a combination of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Mal with Mugler's Pure Havane. Not a bad way of putting it, actually. So a cherry tobacco vibe is one of the things people mention, mixed with some lovely tonka. Definitely a little bit of a sort of an old school barbershop undertone with a certain sweetness, a lovely kind of tobacco note, and just something really, really nice. Bit old school smelling, more like old school as in 1990s rather than 70s or 80s. Fantastic performance and just an absolute gem. If you want a cherry tobacco fragrance with a hint of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Mal, Bogart Pour Homme is an absolute stunner. And of course, you're just great for cold weather because of those fragrance notes. They're kind of warming and the performance superb. Now then, if we want something really old school for the cold weather, then we can do a lot worse than Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis. I'm lucky enough to have a vintage splash bottle here, but the modern version, which is really, really inexpensive, I think it's under £20 again, you can easily get a bottle. And it's a 1980 or 81, I think a 1980 classic. Some people do compare this one a little bit to Chanel's Antaeus, which you will not find discounted anywhere. And indeed, it does have that sort of masculine powerhouse vibe, some leather, a little bit of freshness, maybe some juniper berries and bergamot in the opening, definitely a leathery undertone and this sort of powerhouse muskiness and a real class about the fragrance, but something kind of warming, manly, comforting and very classy and sophisticated in the scent. So Oscar de la Renta Pour Louis, if you've tried Chanel's Antaeus, you want a kind of cheapy version or something similar but just a little bit different, grown up stuff. You've got to like your old school powerhouse type smells, but it's a real beauty and still amazed really that you can pick it up for such great prices. I do like my vintage one, but if I didn't have that I'd be quite happy, I think, with the modern very cheap version. Our next fragrance is, I think, maybe the only clone in the list. This is Ard Al Zafharan. Definitely going to have to Google how to spell that in the caption. And the fragrance is called Midnight Oud. It is a copy of Interlude Man from Amouage, and it is a fantastic copy. I have a rather large decant of the original fragrance. So similar, it's ridiculous. It's really hard to tell these two apart. You also get quite nice presentation, heavy bottle. They keep changing the packaging, but it's kind of along these lines. So a Popanax is one of the notes. If anyone knows how that smells, let me know because I haven't got a clue. But it's smoky and very woody. It has a lot of kind of spicy, exotic incense notes in there. Oud is in there, but it's not an oud bomb. If you think of a combination of very dark, complex, woody tones, a smokiness, and this air of kind of incense in the Middle East. Some people say that Interlude Man is a blue beast and it's so terrifying and unwearable. I don't think it's anything that, people are not going to say, oh my God, what did you do if you wear this? It's a little bit of a strong polarizing smell, but it's, I think it's classy stuff. Very, very close to the original. I think you could easily pick it up under the £20 mark online in the UK. If you've smelled Interlude Man, you're not going to be able to try this very easily in a store. If you've smelled that in a fragrance department store, you can pick this up and you're going to get darn close. Performance similar to the real deal Interlude Man, excellent on this one. The next fragrance, Ragbar Latafa. It is very often compared to the once famous in Fragcom, but not talked about so much, 24 Gold. But this one has some differences, difficult to pin down exactly what they are. It's a sweet fragrance, very sweet, lots of vanilla, and a hint of oud and dark woods. So if you like the idea of a combination of sweet vanilla, hint of oud and dark woods, maybe a hint of some sort of incensey-esque notes, a bit of a burnt sugar thing. Very, very nice stuff. Really, really a nice change from my fougères that I love sometimes to wear this and just have a few sprays on a jumper indoors if I'm doing nothing. I've worn it out on a couple of nights out too. It performs really well. The price is just ridiculously low, like £12 in the UK, and it's a real classic. Burnt sugar, oud, woody tones, superb stuff. Rag bar from Lattafa. It means desire, and it may just make you more desirable. Okay, now no cold weather affordable fragrance list would really be complete without the compulsory inclusion of Bentley for Men Intense. This is, I think Jeremy Fragrance recently featured it in a video. It's an absolutely stunning release from, I think, 2013 or something like that. I think it was Natalie Lawson, the perfumer. So a little bit of freshness in the beginning, but then it's all about this boozy rum blast that you get mixed with patchouli and leather. So boozy rum, patchouli, leather. I think there's a bit of bay leaf and some other stuff. Very, very potent masculine smell. Real alpha male smell. Reminds me, in passing, maybe of Givenchy Gentleman, perhaps because of the patchouli note. That's a real old vintage fragrance. This one has a bit more of that modern niche type feel, but you can pick it up for sort of £30-something in the UK, which is stunning, and similar prices if you're in the States or elsewhere in the world online. You're going to have to maybe take a risk if you can't find it in a department store, but you do see it in department stores to try too. Not all the ladies love this one, but you don't always have to follow what they tell you to do. Doesn't usually work anyway. So Bentley for Men, for me, an artistic masterpiece, and just sensational, of course, for cold weather, because that boozy note, patchouli, leather, you can't go wrong with this one if you want to smell classy, grown up, and a little bit alpha male in the cold weather. Now we're going back in time again for a real old school classic. It's Salvador Dali Pour Homme, a 1987 release. Perfumer for this one, Thierry Vasseur, now the main man over at Guerlain. And this one is sort of a rather gothic oriental fougere fragrance. It definitely has elements of the classic old school powerhouse or fougere 1980s type scent in there, but there's also a little bit of a sweetness, maybe a hint of some licorice or something in there, and maybe some kind of dark florals, kind of in keeping with how the bottle looks. A really fascinating grown-up fougere masculine type fragrance. If you like powerhouse fragrances from the 80s, but you like something a bit more exotic and adventurous in a scent, Salvador Dali Pour Homme could well fit the bill. I think you can pick it up online around about the £30 in the UK mark for 100ml. Unique bottle design, something very different. Of course, for you youngsters watching, it's not going to be ideal for going out clubbing or meeting young ladies, but if you're a little bit more of a mature man, or you just really love the art of unusual smelling fragrances with a bit of something different about them, this fits the bill. Salvador Dali Pour Homme, of course, named after the enigmatic Spanish painter who died in 1989. So my list is running well over 10, but who cares? Lagerfeld Classic Eau de Toilette. This was a 1978 release, originally called Lagerfeld Cologne. Love this juice. Apparently Al Pacino wore it to get in character for the film Scarface, and that tells you a lot about how it smells. It's kind of a real manly smell. Again, you've got a lot of patchouli in this fragrance. I think that works well in cooler weather. It's got a kind of smell that somehow is a bit like the slightly whiskey-esque colour of the juice there. It's got maybe if you think of the liqueur Cointreau, the opening reminds me a bit of that. Then you've got a lot of leather in the base mixed with patchouli and a hint of tobacco. Very, very grown up, alpha male, kind of, again, a classic powerhouse smell, but a different one, more of a boozy patchouli leather fragrance rather than aromatic fougere, with a little twist of vanilla giving it some sweetness. So beautiful, beautiful stuff. You can pick it up really, really cheaply. I can't remember the exact price that I got my 30ml for, a really small one, but even 100ml won't run you much. Kind of like the classic bottle design there from the house of Karl Lagerfeld. Just a couple more to go then. Louis Cardin Sacred. Burnt sugar is what you get from this one. Fantastic kind of caramelized burnt sugar. And that's all there is to say. Very nicely done indeed. Great performance. Very inexpensive. If you like sweetness, I think you could well love this one. So check that one out. Under the radar kind of house there. Louis Cardin. Quite nice packaging. I like the bottle on that one. Performance rather strong, I think, on this one. Okay, we have two more fragrances in this list video. Versace The Dreamer is a great choice in the autumn and winter time. I think the perfect autumn. Something about this makes me think of autumn leaves. I do not know why. Very inexpensive again, the sort of 20-something pound mark for a 100ml bottle. It was a 1996 release, the last masculine fragrance released during the lifetime of Gianni Versace, who sadly passed away in very unpleasant circumstances in 1997. This one has a lovely kind of tobacco accord in it, mixed with a very powdery feel, a little bit of sweetness, something of a sort of fresh linen type accord actually as well, and that works really, really well. It does smell really dreamy and powdery, and it has this kind of sort of abstract vibe about it that I really like. Again, very comforting, kind of synthetic smelling, but in a good way, a sort of powdery tobacco floral fragrance that I sometimes enjoy actually, and I sometimes spread it on my bed sheets in cold weather. There's a little glimpse into my lonely life. The final one in this list, Darej from Versace, famous for being apparently a clone of Valentino V, which I do have the aftershave of, and it's very, very similar. So it's my second clone, I guess, in the list after all. Again, you're looking around about the £20 just either side of that in the UK, or roughly equivalent wherever you are in the world. Super, super performance on this fragrance from Versace. It's a kind of a spicy oriental fruity fragrance, I would call it. There's quite a lot of vanilla in this one. Tonka bean. So again, some slightly powdery notes, and this kind of spicy fruity combination that's just really uplifting, different, kind of ties in with that colour of the juice there, that sort of purpley colour, and it's just something that I really, really enjoy. I spray it sometimes around the room a little bit when I want to give myself a little something to smile about on a cold day, but it's too good for that really. It's a really nice wearing fragrance, my scent of the day today, and yes, stunning bargain, like the bottle design. Good house, Versace. Darej, one of their absolute all-time classics. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of the list and what you think are great inexpensive fragrances for the cold weather. Did I miss any important ones? I'm sure I did. Thank you ever so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. Bye-bye.